You must have heard many love marriage stories, but the love triangle we are about to tell you about will leave you stunned. This love triangle turns into a horrifying tragedy, ending with 3 deaths. What's more shocking is that the police find the culprits, evidence, and everything related to these 3 deaths. Yet despite this, they fail to convict anyone, and the case is closed. So, what exactly happens that forces the police to shut down such a major investigation? Who were the victims? How did they die? And what is the full story of this shocking case? Let's find out all the details in this video. But before we move forward with the story, quickly subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. The most important character in this case is Dr. Revant. Revant lived in a place called Kadu in the Chikmagalur district of Karnataka. He also ran a dental clinic in the same city. Revant lived with his wife, Kavita Bindu, and their 2 children, one aged 5 years and the other just 11 months old. Revant was happily living with his wife and kids, but this happiness did not last long. In February 2020, something happened that shattered this family in an instant. On February 17, 2020, like every other evening, Revant left for his clinic. After working for a while, at around 6:15 p.m., he called his wife Kavita to check on their children. After a brief conversation, he hung up the phone. Then, as usual, at around 8 p.m., Revant returned home from work. But as soon as he arrived, the neighbors suddenly heard his loud screams. Alarmed, they rushed toward Revant's house. What they saw inside left them in shock. Inside the house, Kavita Bindu was lying on the floor, covered in blood. The entire house was in disarray, as if a robbery had taken place. People immediately ran to Kavita and began preparations to take her to the hospital. But it was already too late. Kavita had died on the spot, leaving behind her 2 innocent children. Revant quickly informed the Arasakari police station about the incident over the phone. Upon receiving the information, a police team arrived at the scene. Given the severity of the case, a forensic team was also called in. Meanwhile, after completing the necessary legal formalities, the police took Kavita's body into custody for post-mortem examination. Based on Revant's statement, an FIR was registered for the case. Revant claimed that Kavita had been murdered by robbers because several valuable items and jewelry were missing from the house. According to him, the intruders forcibly entered the house and began looting. When Kavita resisted, they slit her throat, leading to her tragic death. They committed the murder and then fled after looting essential valuables. Based on this statement, an FIR is registered and the police begin their investigation. Initially, the investigation is conducted from the angle of robbery. However, from the very beginning, the police start noticing something unusual in this case. For instance, Revant states that some outsiders entered the house and carried out the robbery. However, during the preliminary investigation, the police do not find any signs of forced entry or looting inside the house. Moreover, if someone had physically assaulted Kavita, there would have been signs of struggle, but the police find nothing of that sort. While valuable jewelry is indeed missing from the house, there is no evidence of forced entry. The police begin to suspect Revant, but they decide to wait for the final post-mortem report before taking any action. Until then, they continue investigating the case as a robbery. When the post-mortem report arrives, everyone is shocked. The report reveals that Kavita was murdered with extreme precision, something only a professional could do. The findings indicate that her throat was not slit with a regular weapon, but with a sharp surgical blade. Furthermore, a high dose of anesthesia was found in her body. A surgical blade and anesthesia, this combination directly points suspicion toward Kavita's husband, Dr. Revant. Still, before making any hasty arrests, the police decide to scrutinize all the CCTV footage of the routes leading to Revant's house and its surroundings. However, they do not find any suspicious individuals in the footage. Additionally, when Revant's call records are retrieved, it is discovered that he had been in contact with a woman named Harshita for quite some time. Even after his wife's death, he continued speaking with her frequently. Previously, the police had summoned Revant multiple times for questioning. Each time, he promptly appeared at the station and fully cooperated with the investigation. However, on the 22nd, in February, the police summoned Revant once again. However, this time, he does not reach the police station on time. After waiting for some time, the police decide to track him down themselves. Just then, they receive information that a dead body has been found near the Bandikupal railway gate. When the officers arrive at the scene, they are shocked to discover that the body is none other than Revant's. A few days earlier, 2 innocent children had lost their mother, and now their father was also gone. How did Revant die? Was he murdered and thrown onto the railway tracks, or did he take his own life? The answer could only be determined through a post-mortem. Therefore, the police took custody of the body and sent it for examination. Meanwhile, to solve the case quickly, the police began searching for a third person involved, the woman whom Revant had been talking to frequently on the phone. Upon investigation, they discovered that her name was Harshita and that she was currently living in the Rajajeshwari Nagar area of Bengaluru. The police planned to question Harshita regarding the case. However, before they could reach her, they received shocking news. Harshita had taken her own life in her room. First Kavita, then Revant, and now Harshita. 3 people were connected to this case, and all 3 were now dead. When the police arrived at Harshita's residence to investigate, they found some jewelry in her room. Documents recovered from the house revealed that this jewelry had been sent by Revant on the 18th. The jewelry originally belonged to Kavita. Additionally, the police found crucial information in the mobile phones of both Kavita and Revant. With 3 consecutive deaths, numerous questions were arising, and pressure was mounting on the police to solve the case as soon as possible. As a result, the police expanded their investigation, meticulously connecting all the dots. Finally, after a few days, they uncovered a shocking truth related to the case. According to the police investigation, Revant and Kavita's married life was going well, and they were happy together. However, things took a turn when Revant met Harshita through social media. Some sources suggest that their initial meeting happened when Revant was looking to rent a house. Following their first meeting, the 2 started talking regularly, which soon turned into a friendship and eventually blossomed into love. Over time, their love deepened to the extent that Revant completely forgot about his marriage and his 2 young children. He became obsessed with the idea of marrying Harshita. The biggest obstacle in his path was his wife, Kavita. Revant tried various ways to get rid of her, but he failed each time. Meanwhile, Harshita kept pressuring him to marry her. The shocking part was that Harshita had already been married twice before. Her first marriage took place around 2010, but did not last long, leading to a divorce from her first husband. Later, she entered into a second marriage. Revant had married a woman named Sundar, and they also had a child together. The 3 of them were living in Bengaluru. However, despite this, Harshita was desperate to marry Revant. As Harshita's pressure on him increased, Revant began plotting a horrific plan to eliminate his wife. He wanted to get rid of her without getting caught. After carefully planning everything, on August 17, 2020, Revant first sent both of his children to a relative's house on some pretext. Then, he deceitfully injected his wife with a high dose of anesthesia. Due to the anesthesia, Kavita lost consciousness. Once she was unconscious, Revant used a surgical blade to strangle her. After killing her, he gathered all the valuable jewelry from the house and packed it in a bag. He even removed the necklace Kavita was wearing at the time of her death. Revant then sent the stolen jewelry to his girlfriend Harshita's address. Later, he calmly returned from his clinic and pretended to be in distress, screaming and crying. He misled the police by fabricating a story about a robbery. The very next day, on August 18, 2020, Harshita received the stolen gold. According to the police statement, as soon as Revant started to feel that now he can no longer escape from the police, and his truth will be exposed to the world. Out of this fear, instead of going to the police station after being summoned, he goes to the railway tracks and jumps in front of a moving train, ending his life. Kavita's case was quite high profile, and the local media was actively following the news. Because of this, the news of Kavita's husband, Revant's death, also made headlines. Harshita learns about this through the news, and fear starts creeping into her mind. She worries that the police might reach her too, and she could end up in jail. Overwhelmed by this fear, just a few hours after Rivant's death, Harshita hangs herself in her room, ending her own life. In the end, an illicit relationship claims the lives of 3 people. In this entire case, the police uncover the reason behind Kavita's death and also identify her killer. However, despite this, they have to close the case because the prime suspects, Rivant and Harshita, are no longer alive. There was no one left to prosecute. You might be wondering what happened to their children after the parents' deaths. While there aren't many detailed reports available on the internet, according to some sources, Kavita and Rivant's children were adopted by a close relative. They are now living their lives well. Friends, after knowing the whole story, what is your opinion? Let us know in the comments. If you liked our efforts, don't forget to like this video. Also, make sure to share it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Stay connected with us for more such crime stories. Thank you.